I want you to understand something before I tell you this story. I am not brave. I am not a hero. I am a kid from Titan who learned one thing before he learned anything else. When the ground is cold enough to freeze your blood in 4 seconds flat, you do not fall down. That is not courage. That is math. My name is Kale Morrow, and 3 years ago, I walked into the Galactic Joint Command Academy as one of 11 human cadets in a station built for 6,000 aliens. Humanity had been part of the Galactic Compact for 7 years at that point, and most species still treated us the way you would treat a stray dog that wandered into a 5-star restaurant. Tolerated. Watched. Expected to embarrass itself and leave. We learned the rules on day 1. Our orientation officer, a tall, silver-skinned Valoon named Commander Sitha, sat us down in a room that smelled like recycled air and said 5 words that became our entire lives. Do not give them reasons. She meant it. Humanity's membership in the Compact was conditional. 1 scandal, 1 incident, 1 human cadet losing their temper at the wrong moment, and 40 species would vote to revoke our seat before breakfast. 8 billion people back home were standing on our shoulders, and they did not know it. So we kept our heads down. We studied harder than anyone else. We ran the drills without complaint. When the Draven cadets called us soft meat in the corridors, we nodded and walked away. When the Cathari refused to spar with us because they considered it beneath them, we trained with each other. When the mess hall went quiet every time we sat down, we ate in the silence and pretended it did not sting. 3 years of that. 3 years of being perfectly invisible, perfectly obedient, perfectly small. Then came the inspection. The parade ground was the largest open space inside the station, a ceremonial platform the size of 4 football fields, suspended in the central drum where the gravity was kept at a precise standard. Every cadet in the academy stood in formation that morning. 6,000 beings from 40 species, lined up in rows so straight you could have laid a laser across them. The air hummed with tension. Diplomats watched from the glass galleries above us. Recording drones floated at the edges of the platform like lazy insects. General Vorath Kezal was conducting the inspection. If you have never seen a Draven in person, let me paint the picture. They stand about 8 feet tall. Their bodies are covered in interlocking plates of natural chitin, biological armor that can stop a blade. Their faces are a collection of mandibles and compound eyes that give nothing away. They move like something that has never once in its evolutionary history needed to be afraid. Vorath was the worst of them. They called him the Iron Chorus, because his voice could vibrate the bones of smaller species. He had commanded fleets. He had won wars that started before humanity discovered electricity. And he hated us. Not quietly, not privately. He had spoken publicly, multiple times, about how humans were a biological error that the Compact had made the mistake of acknowledging. He walked the rows slowly. This was not a real inspection. It was theater. He would stop in front of a cadet, look them over, make a comment, and move on. The Draven cadets got nods of approval. The Valoon got silence. The smaller species got dismissed with a flick of his hand. Then he reached me. I felt him before I saw him. The air pressure changed when a Draven stood close to you. Something about the way their armor displaced the atmosphere around them. I kept my eyes forward, fixed on a point on the far wall, the way I had been trained. He stopped. I could hear his mandibles clicking, a slow, deliberate sound, like someone cracking their knuckles before a fight they had already decided to win. "Human," he said. "Sir," I replied. He leaned closer. I could smell the copper metal scent that Draven exuded, sharp and cold. "Tell me, little mammal," he said, loud enough for the entire formation to hear. "What could your species possibly contribute to a war?" It was a trap. If I stayed silent, I looked weak. If I said anything too confident, he would call it arrogance. So I gave him the textbook answer, the one every cadet learns in first-year galactic military theory, the one that is technically, objectively, inarguably correct. Adaptability, endurance, and creative problem-solving under duress, sir. Something changed behind those compound eyes. I had given him a perfect answer, and that was the one thing he could not tolerate. He wanted fear. He wanted stammering. He wanted the little mammal to confirm every prejudice he had carried for centuries. Instead, he got competence. His arm moved fast. Draven are quicker than they look. His chitinous forearm connected with the side of my face, A backhand meant for a Draven subordinate, someone with natural armor who could absorb it. Against a human skull, it was something else entirely. My head snapped to the right. I felt my cheekbone give. Not shatter, but crack, a white-hot line of pain that lit up the left side of my face like a circuit overloading. Blood filled my mouth. I felt it running down my jaw, warm and metallic, dripping onto the collar of my dress uniform. I staggered one step to the left, one step, and then I put my foot back. Spine straight, eyes forward, hands at my sides. Blood running freely down my face and onto the polished platform beneath my boots. I did not make a sound. The parade ground went quiet. Not the respectful silence of attention. The airless, ringing silence of a room full of beings who have just witnessed something that cannot be taken back. 6,000 cadets, 200 diplomats, and an unknown number of live recording feeds, all holding their breath at the same time. I want to tell you that I was thinking something noble in that moment. I was not. I was thinking about pain. I was cataloging the damage the way my father taught me to catalog mining injuries on Titan. Detached, clinical, useful, fractured cheekbone, probable hairline crack in the orbital bone, blood in my left eye, which meant a cut above the brow, concussion likely, nothing fatal, nothing that required me to move, so I did not move. I stood there and bled, and I let every camera on that station see it. Behind me, 3 rows back, my friend Tova Lint did something quietly extraordinary. She activated the emergency broadcast protocol on her comm unit. Academy regulations required every cadet to carry a live feed-capable device during formal ceremonies. It was a safety rule, meant for evacuations and crisis alerts. Tova used it to send the footage of a 4-star galactic general striking an unarmed human cadet, a cadet who refused to fall, directly to every diplomatic channel, news network, and compact oversight body simultaneously. Within 60 seconds, an estimated 3 billion beings across 42 worlds were watching me bleed. I did not know that yet. I was just standing still. Commander Scytha stepped forward. She did not rush. She did not raise her voice. She simply walked to a position 3 paces from Vorath, and stated, in a tone as flat and precise as a surgical instrument, the timestamp, the identities of both parties, the nature of the contact, and the regulation it had broken. She was building a legal record in real time, in front of every witness on the platform. I had never admired anyone more. Vorath did not seem to notice. He was still looking at me with something I could not quite identify. Not anger anymore, but something worse. Confusion. The mammal was supposed to crumble. The mammal was still standing. Then his aide rushed toward him. I could not hear what was whispered, but I could read the effect. Vorath's mandibles stopped clicking. His compound eyes shifted toward the diplomatic gallery. I followed his gaze for just a fraction of a second. The Velun ambassador had risen to her feet. The Cathari delegation, an ancient species with an honor code so rigid it made human samurai look casual, had turned their backs on Vorath. In Cathari culture, that gesture means something so severe that there is no equivalent in any human language. It is the erasure of a person's existence from the public record. They were not merely insulted. They were declaring that he no longer deserved to be seen. The Solvan delegates were standing as well, their bioluminescent skin pulsing red, their species' involuntary signal of collective outrage. Vorath's communicator started buzzing, then it started screaming. Multiple incoming channels, all at once. I caught fragments. The Draven High Command, the Compact Tribunal, the Human Embassy. The voices were layered on top of each other, all of them furious, all of them demanding answers to questions Vorath had not yet realized he needed to fear. Here is what was happening beneath the surface, the part I understood only later. Humanity's conditional status in the Compact had always been controversial. The younger species, the ones who had joined in the last few centuries, resented the elder species' dominance. They had been waiting for a moment, a symbol, something that exposed the arrogance of the old guard in a way that could not be argued away. Vorath had just given them that symbol. A bleeding human cadet in a clean uniform, standing at attention with a fractured face, refusing to yield. I was not a person to them. I was a political earthquake, and the ground was already shifting. Vorath turned back to me. The change in him was something I recognized. because I had seen it before in the mine foremen on Titan, the ones who realized too late that they had triggered a collapse, and the ceiling was already coming down. It was not guilt. It was not remorse. It was the raw, animal understanding that everything he had built was ending, and he had done it to himself. "Cadet," he said, his voice, the iron chorus, the voice that supposedly rattled walls, was barely a whisper. "Cadet, I am asking you." His mandibles were clicking rapidly now. The Draven equivalent of stammering. "I am asking you to speak on my behalf before the tribunal. To tell them it was that I did not intend," he was begging. A 4-star general of the species that had conquered half the galaxy before humans discovered fire was standing in front of me, head lowered in the deepest gesture of submission his kind could offer, begging a bleeding 22-year-old to save his career, his rank, his legacy, and his species' political standing. I let the silence hold. 3 seconds. I counted them by the drops of blood falling from my jaw onto the platform. 1, 2, 3. Then I spoke. My voice was steady. I made sure of that. I made sure it carried. "General, I am a cadet of the Galactic Joint Command. I will answer truthfully any question the tribunal asks me. I will not add anything that did not happen. I will not leave out anything that did, and I will not lie to protect the dignity of someone who had none to begin with." He flinched. A Draven flinched. I added one more thing, quieter, just for him. "You asked what humanity contributes to a war, sir. Now you know. We do not break." The rest happened fast and slow at the same time, the way all important things do. Vorath was formally relieved of command before the day ended. The Compact Tribunal opened a full inquiry. The Draven High Command issued a public disavowal so quickly that it was clear they had been waiting for an excuse to remove him. His name became a cautionary lesson taught at every military academy in the Compact. The footage never stopped spreading. My face, bloodied, unbroken, staring at nothing, became something I never asked it to be, an icon, a symbol, the image that 40 younger species pointed to when they demanded reform. Humanity's conditional membership was reviewed within the month. The vote for full permanent status passed unanimously. For the first time in Compact history, not a single species dissented. The Cathari ambassador sent me a ceremonial blade, their highest honor for what they called one who endures. Commander Sitha simply nodded at me the next morning and said, "Well held, Cadet." I nearly cried. I did not. I went back to formation the next day with a bandaged face and a fresh uniform. When the new inspecting officer, a Solvan admiral, stopped in front of me, she paused, studied my injuries, and offered a slight bow before moving on. People keep asking me how I did it. Humans, aliens, reporters, diplomats. How did you just stand there? How did you take it without fighting back, without falling, without making a sound? I give them all the same answer. I am from Titan. The floor is 200 degrees below zero. Nobody is coming to pick you up. So you stand. That is all. You just stand.